I'm Marjorie K. Eastman. I served in the U.S. Army Reserves. I joined right after 9/11 because of 9/11. And my first activation was in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I was forward deployed, printing these off because we received them in soft file, and we were cutting them up, putting rubber bands around them, and getting them out to those moving forward, going downrange. These decks of cards definitely helped on the ground, and as we've done this new deck, the 2019 Frontline Leaders, I have people tell me, oh, my unit, we caught the 6 of spades. We were part of the kill capture for the 2 of hearts or whatever. And so, that part, that sliver of, service, the service members, they remember it. And it's very much imprinted on, that part of our history.
So no, I actually really didn't think that that this deck, once the Iraq deck came out, there was a couple of other decks that they had tried in Afghanistan, and they actually failed in Afghanistan. And then Marjorie called me about a year and a half ago and talked to me about her story a little bit and her memoirs and her book. And then she called me up and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing a different deck of cards. What do you think? And I thought it was a terrific idea, and I really enjoyed the idea that we went from a war footing to something different.
I mean, I just love the connection, and these are so tied together because it's flipping the script. This is the list of HVTs, high value targets, what we know as the bad guys. This is the list of the good guys. These are high value targets too. But these are the guys and gals back home, my brothers and sisters, essentially, that I served with in the military, and their family members, because there's military families also represented in this deck, who are doing good things at home. They're stepping up to the challenges that we face here, and so it just, yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of emotional today. Just seeing, sitting here at U.S. playing cards, and from my vantage point, I see this silo out there with the bicycle on it. We just walked through this lobby. It's incredible, and throughout history, decks of cards have been used again to galvanize the troops, to bring awareness, and to be a rally point. Hans had a deck that also galvanized the nation.
I would add that information-wise, coalition governments have identified a list of key regime leaders, and this deck of cards is one example of what we provide.
And I thought, you know what, in prior decks, especially the spotter deck during World War II, or the deck that was all spades in Vietnam, the decks never galvanized a nation. And I thought, if there's any deck to kind of replicate, when we're talking about the post 9/11 military community, I want to galvanize the nation around the military community so they get to know us, and we can build those bridges and really get past that military divide, because there are a lot of prevailing themes on who the military community is, but the truth is, and the rest of the story, and that you see in this deck of Frontline Leaders, is that the military community is a positive force back home in our local communities, our culture, our economy, and you see it with these great companies. May I open this? Let me show you. So after World War II, almost 50% of veterans came home and were starting businesses, great, awesome, iconic American businesses. And that continued on, in Vietnam and, after Desert Storm and whatnot. Veterans are still doing that, and so are their family members. They're coming home and they're fixing things. They're either making something better, like, hey, I want a t-shirt. I want a really nice t-shirt. I want a t-shirt that says, tells people who I am. Well, guess what? Now you have a company like Gruntstyle that's doing that even better. Or you have, charities listed in the deck that, are really addressing some of the challenges of our time. You've got the 2 of Hearts that's addressing human trafficking, which is happening here in the country, here in the U.S. You've got, the 7 of Hearts, which is the Lamia Afghan Foundation, really trying to still fight the war and win the war in Afghanistan. They're building schools for girls, 7 schools, 7 of Hearts, 7 schools for girls in Afghanistan that John and Jan Bradley have done. I mean, all of these cards, they tell a story, and it's just really special. when you look at these. And to me, these are, a lot of the high speed, like everyone's served with that person that we'd call it fire and forget, like you didn't have to go back and make sure that they were doing what they needed to be, but, these are just a great representation of our community on the very best of who we are.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Hans had the challenges of command, to get the deck into the hands of the operators, the people that needed them. What were the challenges that you've encountered putting together the team and all the businesses that make up that 52?
Yeah.
Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So the whole idea to do this deck, after I finished my book tour, I wanted to continue the conversation about our community in a positive way, to tell more of the story. And I had met so many inspiring and just amazing companies and charities that I wanted to help tell their story and continue the conversation. And so for me, my biggest challenge was narrowing it down to 52, because, and that's what, these 52, they'll tell you this themselves, this isn't a hero deck. They're not heroes. These 52 are examples. They're guides of exactly what the military community is capable of, and what they're going to be doing still moving forward. So if you're a veteran, if you're a military community member looking at this deck, this is to remind you of who you are and your value. You start businesses, you start charities, you volunteer with charities. Even if you look at the Veterans Health Index, veterans have a higher percentage of voting, have a higher percentages of showing up to public meetings or giving money to charities. You are the sheepdogs. This is you. If you are not a military community member, but you really care about the military, because this is our family, right? And this is what America's all about. This is a way for you to be part of something very special, to be part of history, because this is absolutely a bicycle collectible. Only happens every couple of years where they really highlight something in the military, and so this is pretty special.
Can you tell us, maybe Hans, you could redirect this question on how you feel personally about seeing now all these organizations and companies and Dr. Hans and everybody coming together and spending time together, and getting to know each other. Some of us know each other already, some of us didn't, but making those personal connections between the companies.
And your intelligence background.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So when I had this idea to do the deck of cards, I had to dust off some of my old Intel skills, and first of all, sleuthing around and trying to find this person, because you started to read about the deck and who created it, and there was a lot out there. But then when I found Hans and we connected, and of course we did the, hey, do you know so and so, so and so, so and so, right? We started doing all that. But it was just really special because I didn't know Hans in 2003. Like, I was forward deployed with a different unit. And so it's really cool to kind of reconnect back around and just kind of tie history back